Have you ever faced a decision that felt like it would change everything? A crossroads where you had to choose between the path you've been building for years and the one your heart is telling you to take? Well, a few months ago, I was standing right there. Today, I want to share my story with you. The story of why I decided to leave my job. For years, my career was my world. I loved the challenges, the late nights, the feeling of accomplishment. I was climbing the ladder, hitting my targets, and building what I thought was my dream life. But while I was so focused on my professional goals, life was happening. My family needed me in ways that a paycheck or a promotion could never fix. It started with small things: a missed school play, a rushed phone call, a promise to be there next time. But next time started to feel further and further away. I'd come home exhausted, mentally drained, with little energy left for the people who mattered most. I was physically present, but my mind was still back at the office, replaying meetings and worrying about deadlines. I was becoming a ghost in my own home. The turning point wasn't a single dramatic event. It was a slow, quiet realization. It was seeing the look in my partner's eyes, a mixture of love and exhaustion from carrying so much of the family load alone. It was my child asking why I was always so tired. It was realizing that the moments I was missing were the ones I would never get back. These weren't just moments. They were the building blocks of our family's story, and I was absent from Slishcom's many chapters. The idea of quitting was terrifying. My job wasn't just an income, it was a part of my identity. Who would I be without my title, my projects, my team? The fear of the unknown, the financial instability, the judgment from others, it was all incredibly loud. I spent countless nights staring at the ceiling, my mind racing with a million what-ifs. What if I fail? What if I regret it? What if this is the biggest mistake of my life? But then, a different question started to emerge, a quieter but more powerful one. What if I don't? What will I regret more in 20 years? Missing a promotion, or missing my child's formative years? Not closing a big deal, or not being there to hold my partner's hand through a tough time? The answer was crystal clear. So, I made the decision. It was one of the hardest and scariest things I've ever done. Walking into my boss's office to resign felt surreal. But walking out of that building for the last time, I didn't feel loss. I felt a profound sense of peace. I felt like I was finally walking toward, not away from, what truly mattered. The first few weeks were an adjustment, for sure. I had to unlearn the habit of checking my email thing in the morning. I had to learn the rhythm of my family's day, not the rhythm of the corporate world. But in place of conference calls, there were now long morning walks. Instead of spreadsheets, there were shared meals and bedtime stories. I discovered so much. I learned how to cook my family's favorite meal from scratch. I was there for a scraped knee and the victory of learning to ride a bike without training wheels. I had deep, uninterrupted conversations with my partner, reconnecting in a way we hadn't in years. I wasn't just a visitor in their lives anymore. I was an active, present participant. Of course, it hasn't all been a perfect fairy tale. There are financial pressures and moments where I miss the intellectual stimulation of my old job. But then I look at my family, at the laughter and the connection we've rebuilt, and I know without a shadow of a doubt that I made the right choice. This journey has taught me that success isn't just a title or a salary. True wealth is having the time and energy to invest in your relationships. It's about being present for the unscripted, beautiful, messy moments of life. My career can be rebuilt, but my family's precious moments are fleeting. I chose to be there for them. This new chapter is still being written, and I'm excited to see where it leads. I'm exploring new ways to use my skills, perhaps on a more flexible basis. But this time, with my family as the non-negotiable priority. It's a different kind of ambition, one that's rooted in love and presence. If you're at a similar crossroads, feeling that pull between your career and your personal life, please know you're not alone. It's a tough place to be. There's no single right answer for everyone. but I encourage you to listen to that quiet voice inside. Ask yourself what you'll regret more. Your true priorities will become clear. Sometimes the boldest step you can take is the one that leads you back home. Thank you so much for listening to my story. It's a very personal one, and I appreciate you giving me the space to share it. If this resonated with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. And if you'd like to follow along on this new journey of mine, please consider subscribing to the channel. Ever felt like your room is the only place in the world where you can just be you? That was my sanctuary. But for my mom, my locked door was a red flag, a signal that I was hiding something. Our home turned into a silent battleground, with my bedroom door as the front line. "Why is this door always locked, Sarah?" she'd ask, her voice laced with suspicion. "What are you doing in there that you can't share with your own mother?" I'd try to explain, "Mom, it's not about hiding things. It's about having my own space, a little bit of privacy." But to her, privacy was just another word for secrets. She grew up in a house where doors were always open, a sign of trust and family unity. My need for a locked door felt like a personal rejection to her, a wall I was building between us. The tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. Every time she jiggled the handle, my heart would leap into my throat. I wasn't doing anything wrong. Usually, I was just sketching in my notebook, listening to music, or chatting with friends online. But her constant suspicion made me feel like a criminal in my own home. It felt like she didn't trust me, and that hurt more than anything. One afternoon, the confrontation we'd both been avoiding finally erupted. I was on a video call with my school project group, deep in discussion about our presentation. Suddenly, I heard a clicking sound. My mom had found the spare key. The door swung open, and there she stood, a triumphant look on her face that quickly turned to confusion as she saw me and my classmates staring back at her from my laptop screen. The silence was deafening. My friends tried to stifle their giggles. My face burned with a mixture of embarrassment and anger. "Mom, what are you doing?" I hissed after quickly excusing myself from the call. "I was checking on you," she said, her voice defensive. "I thought you were, I don't know." That was the breaking point. "You thought I was what, Mom? Getting into trouble?" The hurt in my voice was raw. "You don't trust me at all, do you? You'd rather break into my room than just talk to me." The fight was huge. Words were thrown. Tears were shed. I felt violated, and she felt justified. We went to bed that night in a stalemate, the silence in the house heavier than ever. The next few days were icy. We moved around each other like strangers. I left my door unlocked, but it was a bitter, resentful kind of compliance. The joy I once found in my room was gone, replaced by a constant feeling of being watched. My sanctuary felt more like a fishbowl. I knew something had to change, but I didn't know how to fix it. I felt lost. Then, I had an idea. It wasn't about getting revenge, not really. It was about showing her, not just telling her what her lack of trust felt like. My mom cherished her garden. It was her escape, her private world, filled with prized roses and carefully tended vegetables. She also had a little garden shed where she kept her journals, old photos, and keepsakes. It was her version of my bedroom, and she always kept it locked. So, one Saturday while she was out, I borrowed my dad's spare key to her shed. I didn't go in to snoop. I just left the door wide open. Then I went back to my room and waited. When she got home, I heard her gasp from the backyard. A few moments later, she stormed into my room, her face flushed with anger. "Sarah, why is my shed door wide open? You know how I feel about that space." I looked at her calmly. "I know, Mom. It feels awful, doesn't it? To have someone invade your private space without your permission. To feel like you can't have one corner of the world that's just for you." The anger on her face slowly melted away, replaced by a dawning understanding. She looked at me, really looked at me, and I could see the gears turning in her head. She saw the parallel. She saw my hurt reflected in her own panic. I never thought of it that way, she said softly. To me, a locked door just meant you were pushing me away. That was the opening I needed. It's not about pushing you away, Mom. It's about having a place to pull myself together, to be a teenager, to figure things out. Sometimes I just need to breathe. Can you understand that? That conversation changed everything. It was long, and it wasn't easy. She talked about her fears, the worries that every parent has. I talked about my need for independence and trust. We didn't solve everything in one night, but we built a bridge. We came up with a compromise. I could lock my door, but we established knock and wait rules. No more spare keys unless it was a true emergency. In return, I promised to be more open with her, to share parts of my life, not because I had to, but because I wanted to. It was a lesson for both of us. She learned that trust isn't about open doors. It's about respecting boundaries and believing in the person you raised. And I learned that communication is a two-way street. Sometimes you have to show someone how you feel before they can truly understand. Our battle over the locked door ended not with a winner and a loser, but with a newfound respect for each other. My room became my sanctuary again, but this time, the rest of the house felt like home too. If you've ever felt caught between wanting privacy and dealing with your parents' rules, I hope our story helps. It's all about finding that middle ground. Thanks for listening. My mom texted me, "This is goodbye." My heart dropped, but I typed back a single word. Okay. What happened next? Well, you won't believe it. This wasn't the first time she'd said something like this. Our relationship had been a roller coaster for years, full of drama and emotional ultimatums. I was always the one to chase, to apologize, to fix things. But this time, something in me just snapped. I was done playing the game. A few days later, another text buzzed on my phone. It was her again. "We can't be friends anymore." A strange sense of calm washed over me. I wasn't angry or heartbroken, just tired. So I replied with the same detached energy, "Understood." And then, silence. A week passed, then another. The quiet was deafening at first, but slowly, it turned into peace. I started focusing on myself for the first time in forever. I reconnected with old friends, picked up hobbies I'd abandoned, and poured my energy into my work. I was actually happy. That's when things got weird. My aunt called, then my cousin, all with the same message. "Your mom is really worried about you. She says you're ignoring her." I politely explained that I was just respecting her wishes. The truth was, her attempt to control me with emotional threats had backfired. By refusing to engage in the drama, I had taken back my power. This wasn't about revenge, it was about self-preservation. The real shock came a month later. A package arrived at my door. Inside was a photo album she had made, filled with pictures of us from when I was a kid. Tucked inside was a letter. It wasn't an apology, not really, but it was a start. She wrote about how my silence had made her realize how much she relied on our toxic dynamic. She didn't know how to have a relationship with me without the fighting and the making up. This is where the story takes a turn you might not expect. I didn't rush to call her. I didn't send a long, emotional text. I waited. I thought about what I wanted. What kind of relationship did I want to have? Was a healthy one even possible? This wasn't about winning or losing anymore. It was about breaking a cycle that had hurt us both for so long. I learned that sometimes the most powerful response is no response at all. Refusing to participate in a toxic argument isn't weakness, it's a boundary. It's a statement that says, "I love you, but I love myself more, and I will not allow my peace to be disturbed." When I finally did reach out, it was on my terms. I suggested we see a family therapist together. It was a long shot, but it was the only path forward I could see that didn't lead back to the same old destructive patterns. The first session was tense. My mom expected me to list all her faults, to finally unleash all the anger she probably felt I was holding back. Instead, I talked about my own role in the cycle. I talked about how my constant need for her approval allowed the dynamic to continue. It wasn't about blaming her. It was about taking responsibility for my own happiness. Seeing me take that approach seemed to disarm her. For the first time, she wasn't on the defensive, she just listened. That was the beginning of a long, and I mean long, journey. There were setbacks, old habits that tried to creep back in. But for every step back, we managed to take 2 steps forward. The lesson here wasn't about getting revenge. The real win was realizing that my worth wasn't tied to her approval. By letting go of the need to win the argument, I ended up winning back my life. The moment I texted okay, I wasn't just ending a conversation. I was starting a new chapter for myself. It's a strange thing, but that dramatic goodbye text was actually the best gift my mom ever gave me. It forced me to stand on my own 2 feet and define my life on my own terms. It taught me that real strength isn't about fighting every battle. It's about knowing which ones aren't worth your peace. And sometimes, the most loving thing you can do for someone and for yourself is to respectfully walk away from the drama and give them the space to find their own way back. If you're going through something similar, please know that setting boundaries is not selfish. It's necessary for your well-being. It can be incredibly difficult, especially with family, but your mental peace is worth it. You have the right to a drama-free life. It might feel like you're losing something, but what you gain, self-respect, peace, and the chance for a genuinely healthy relationship down the line, is so much more valuable. Thank you so much for listening to my story. It wasn't easy to share, but I hope it can help someone out there who might be feeling trapped in a similar situation. If you enjoyed this video or found it helpful, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more stories about navigating life's crazy challenges. Drop a comment below if you've ever had to set a tough boundary. I'd love to hear your experience. Until next time, take care of yourselves.